literature search is not only for, for attending courses. When you generate a program, healthcare program, you need a literature review as well. So this is like very essential, for health related or medical related field. Okay, so the main topic that we are going to cover today is scientific literature review. Literature review in a scientific field, in a scientific way, okay, not a literature review in a newspaper article or whatsoever. That is also a literature review. Literature in English also, books, in English books also they call it literature, but the one that relates to our courses, a course is the scientific literature review. Okay, so you already, so I have few questions. I will read it at the end of this lecture. Maybe we can answer some other question that haven't answered. Okay, so basically we are going to learn about the scientific literature review, different type of literature review. And you have to know that systematic literature review is part of different types of literature review. And you're going to learn about the purpose and structure and importance of good SLR. And actually there are subtopic in that as well. Okay. The first one, after studying this chapter or this lecture today, I think you should be able, after this, you should be able to know what is the meaning of the literature review. So when your SV said, do literature review about what, and you already have a general idea, and you have to know you have to know the function of literature review, describe the purpose and characteristic of different literature review, distinguish different types of literature review, and illustrate the steps, to construct a literature review. And you will learn about the systematic literature review, which I think is quite related to your program, because you are generating literature review for the RP, thesis, assignments. Okay. Scientific literature review is a documentation of a comprehensive review of the published topics or article in area of specific interest to the researcher, not only focusing on biology, health science, medical science. Literature review also covers social science, business, engineering, and so on. Okay, so literature review, it could be used as a standalone assignment. The assignment that I assign you is a literature review, but it is in the form of short or small scale literature review. But that is an LR, okay? Okay, LR could be also introduction to an essay or report or thesis or dissertation. Okay, part of the thesis, part of the dissertation, there is a literature review part, right? And also it could be the background for original research article that you can find from the database, critiques or interpretation or new creation, part of the research grant proposal, and also evidence-based practice, usually in clinical area. And if you look at this figure here, okay. And if you look at this figure here, so literature review in a form of introduction to a journal article or introduction part for the thesis, dissertation or proposal is called a literature review, but it is part of the larger work. It is not standalone, but it is part of the work. And it is also as a standalone assignment, as I said, for course assessment, and also in review article, full review article. It is a more comprehensive literature review. Okay, so what is the function of literature review? The first one is to bring clarity and focus to the research problems. The second one, to improve the methodology. The third one, to broaden the knowledge base in your research area specifically, and also to contextualize the findings. Okay, so how it brings clarity and focus to the research problem? So it helps you to define the association between your gaps or research problems and the body knowledge of in the area, because different authors, when you collect a paper like 40 or 50 articles, and when you relate it to each other, so you can find your association, your question associate with other person point of view. So it will brings you your knowledge wider. Okay, some article that when you collect like for example, like 42 articles for one literature review for your proposal. So you may find that the methodology that have been used by other will answer your question as well. Let's say you want to study about the topic for antioxidant, but when you collected all 42 or 43 or 45 articles, you may find the best methodology that you can use, other than like referring to one article and propose one methodology. That it's not good. Okay. Okay, and broaden your knowledge, of course. When you do critical appraisal, it will broaden your knowledge, you know, if you are able to critique other people's work, and you will know deeper about something that you actually do not know before, something like that. Okay, and it contextualize its finding to that literature review will help identifying your how your findings compare with existing body of the knowledge. Okay, so writing a literature review will improve your topic knowledge, provide your new insight to your topic or other topic that you are interested to study. Okay, maybe you are interested with cancer biology, but your field is actually biomaterial, which is not quite related, but you are interested to study about the cancer biology, for example. So what you do is you do collection of different types of article, and you study and you create a literature review. Okay, and it demonstrates your literature searching abilities. And this one I want to stress that I believe all of you, all 54, 55 of you already know how to do literature search. You already learned before, few other courses, few other lectures. I think you already know how to do a literature search. You know, not only know how to do Google Scholar, but there are other different types of literature database online, or you can use your library, right? Okay, and it will demonstrate your critical analysis thinking when you do critical appraisal, and it will demonstrate your communication and writing skills. Okay, I hope these few weeks when you attended course 556, this 556 course, you already, you know, develop your writing skills. Maybe someone said, I think Haida said because she didn't learn before, but by time when you learn few lectures, maybe you can, you know, upgrade your writing skills, reading skills, right? Maybe not like, I do not expect like 90% or 100% improve, but at least, you know, 40 to 50% increase, it much better. Okay. So what is the purpose of literature review? So it is for communication and advancement of scientific knowledge. So scientific knowledge, you have to know it is not static. So research findings or research reviews are always changing. So there's no one actual data for one topic, for example. It's always changing. Researchers or authors have always different types of point of view. So the knowledge is not static. Okay. So the purpose of literature review is to understand that this knowledge is always changing and developing over time. So that's why when you go to database, there's always latest information about like A topic, B topic. Like this month, someone already discussed about it, and then next month there is a new issue about that topic, but different point of view. So it's always changing. Okay. So literature review can lead to new scientific insight and highlight gaps, conflicting results, and under-examined area of research. Okay, so you have to know that scientific literature review should provide a clear statement of topical area or the scope. Number two, to provide a range of research on the topic and not just the good data. Critical analyze a selected topic using a published body of knowledge, like critical appraisal. Provide an indication of what further research is necessary. And number five, identify areas of controversy in the literature. point of view of the author or research or author bias. So you will identify. So last week I already showed you different types of journal article sources, and one of that is review article. And review article looks like this. So this article, this is a review article, types of review article, and it is published in Vascular Pharmacology in 2016. And if you look at here, what is the differentiation between the normal research original article is that it has a concise and informative title. If you read here, vascular calcification in type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease, integrative roles for OPG, RUNC-L, and TRAIL. So if you know, so if you can identify or determine what is the title saying, to me, this author study about these three types of gene, OPG, RUNC-L, and TRAIL in type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease, focusing on vascular calcification. So the title already concise, and by looking at the title, I already know it is a type of review article, okay? It is, if you compare with the research original article, the title is quite different. So usually review have more concise and informative article, okay? And the short abstract, you know, this article use more than about 200 references. 200 references in just one paper. And constructing a short abstract with 200 words summary it's not easy, but this 200 word short abstract is very good if you take a look at this paper. And it also provide a table of content, and it has a subheading instead of focusing on a big topic. You know, VC therapeutic consideration, it discuss also about this subheading, other subtopic from this review, okay? And it also has good paragraph length to clearly analyze key topic. And you see the length of the paragraph is almost similar. There's no one lengthy paragraph and one really short brief paragraph. So it is very good in terms of paragraphing. Okay, and in this review article also, it has informative or relevant image and figure legend. So it could be your own generated image based on your understanding of the articles that you've selected. Maybe there are 10 articles about OPG, 10 articles about RUNC-L gene, and then when you study, when you read about it, you can associate it, you can generate image or figure. Then it will be very, very good. Okay, so it has a clear summary table and table legend. Okay, as you can see here, different types of references they are discussing, and they divide it into different types of criteria, and you see how it is actually related. You know, this is a very clear summary table and table legend as well. Okay, so as you can see here, each category doesn't really related to only one reference. Some have 3 references, 4 references, right? There's no, not necessarily like means that this paper has commonality, common suggestion, common comments, topic, something like that, which is related. And you know, you have to know that it is very difficult to generate like this kind of summary table. But if you can do that with the assignment that I assigned you last week, then it will be very good. Okay, you have to find a commonality from your 3 articles that you have selected. I put minimum 3, but you can choose up to I don't know, maybe 5, 6. Which one is most interest, then you can do. But the minimum is 3. Okay. Okay. Okay, and it also has a conclusion, you know, with key points, and also it addresses the future works, you know, future recommendation and relevant acknowledgement, and also lengthy reference list. You know, when you go to one paper, you look at, I also look at the reference. a good paper must have a very, not very lengthy reference, but I used to check for a currency, most current citation, most good journal based on the quartile. So yeah, that journal must be very good to me, but it depends for you. It depends. Different people have different preference. Okay. So literature review structure, you can divide it into primary, secondary, and non-scientific literature. So let's look at the non-scientific literature. It's very it's not formal. It doesn't have it's not structured. It's unstructured. It could be literature from an essay or newspaper or magazine, books, which is not scientific. So it has the title, author, journal, credibility, quality content, coherent recommendation. But for primary, it has purpose of the study, usually types of the study, qualitative, quantitative, sampling or data collection method. The findings could be in the form of statistic, image or figures, or microscopic analysis, for example, if you study biology, and also recommendation, and also key thought and comments, usually in the form of discussion or conclusion. And secondary have this unique, I call it unique criteria, which is the review question, a purpose, a research question, the gaps, and you also identify the key definition, boundaries, and then a phrasal, and then synthesis of the study, what the author understand about the other article, and then summary or conclusion for that. Okay. So different types of literature. So you have to know that reviews, articles are not necessarily standard by design or definition. The main difference because different discipline or different because of different field. Of course, review article for social science field would be different than medicine or health related. Or if you want to compare, mathematics would be different compared to the medicine. So the review formatting or standardizing is there's no actual format for that. And also it different in terms of purpose and also scope, and also how you do a selection and phrasal. And the literature review also difference in terms of organization. Okay, when your lecturer say do chronological LR organization, so you have to do with chronologically based on timeline. So let's say you pick article from 2000 until 2020. So it almost like 20 years, right? So a timeline. So you have to discuss what happened within that timeline. That is the chronological. And thematic usually more simpler because you pick one topic or one theme and you focus on reviewing that topic. Okay, and methodological, basically discussing about the methodology used. Okay, and compare the result between those selected article. Okay, so this one I list down different types of literature review article. As you can see here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I list down about 6. The first one is the scoping review. Scoping usually identify the extent or nature of past and current research. It is a topical, but it is just for preliminary assessment of size and scope of available literature. It is short, not short, but more focusing on the preliminary part of the research. Okay, and instead of the art of science, focus on the new or current knowledge. And critical review, of course, when you know when you see the critics, it's about the critical appraisal of extensive published research or selected article. And narrative review is a traditional review. It is topical and thematic. It's usually written by expert in that field because you want to talk about one topic in focusing for past and current publication. You want to discuss all. Okay, you want to discuss everything. And systematic review is much resemble the narrative review, but it is more systematic. Okay, there is a concept and research gap, research questions, study design, how you collect the articles and how many articles you collect and how many articles you from, let's say from 100 articles you've selected, you want to exclude 20, then you have to explain why. And then from 80, you only select like 20, then you have to explain why you exclude others and why you include those 20. That is the study design and methodology used in that systematic review. So there is tools for for selecting criteria. We will learn, I think later, maybe next week when we start writing, okay? And also the meta-analysis is a part of systematic review, but it is more dealing with the statistical findings of the article. Okay, so this I create this activity to assess maybe your understanding. So which one you think literature is the best match for the topic below? Like I put the scenario 1, a UiTM professor is applying for MOSTI grant and needs strong support and evidence for the proposal. So basically he wants to construct a proposal. So what type of literature review that match like his project, his study? So anyone can answer? What type of literature review best match to this scenario number 1? You want to construct a narrative review or critical or systematic or meta-analysis? What do you think? Alia, what do you think? Do you have any answer for that? There's nothing right. No markah pun. It's just for fun, for just your understanding. What do you think?
For scenario 1, I think systematic code.
Yes, it is systematic review. Usually when you want to construct a proposal, proposal for grant, application for your project, for your thesis as well, you use systematic literature review, okay? And students want to see how many articles have been published on COVID-19 pandemic. So they're focusing, the student wants to focus on the COVID-19 pandemic without stating any timeline that you want to use. Basically, he wants to just want to see that topic only. So it is basically scoping review, okay? And scenario number 3, you want to study about the academic article published in the last 5 years with the title entitled "The Role of Nutrition in the Risk and Burden of Strokes." So anyone wants to, give an idea? What is this most likely to be related? What is the literature that likely related? So it gives example. Sorry? So the key point is the last 5 years, or maybe you can look at the risk here. So risk usually related to the meta-analysis, right? The statistical analysis. So it is most likely a meta-analysis review. And the scenario number 4, a senior lecturer wants to study about a concept of possible role of ABO blood group system in age-related disease and longevity. So she has already stated the theme, the topic, and the concept. It has a ABO system, age-related disease for longevity. So it is more likely a narrative review. So this is how you differentiate between different types of literature review. Okay? Okay, let's move on to the more specific or more detail about the systematic literature review, because this one it is much related to your study, to your project, okay, to your courses. Okay, so information about healthcare is everywhere. But how do you know if one health intervention works better than another, or if it will do more harm than good? So I came out with this kind of question. Are antioxidant supplements effective for preventing mortality in healthy participants? Number two, do annual general health checkup reduce illness and mortality? Or number three, is an early epidural as effective and safe as a late epidural for women in labor? So how would you answer this question? So of course you ask around, right? And sometimes you came up with too much information to be digested. You do some your own research, you read paper, you go to the internet for sourcing. Sometimes you watching TV or news, to get answer for your question. And sometimes your parents and even your grandma give like exaggerating things. So it doesn't really match what you are asking, right? Especially when it comes to clinical or medical related problems. So what you do is that you do online database. You go to a library database or any other online database to help you to answer your clinical or medical related question. So is an early epidural as effective and safe as a late epidural for women in labor? So you do searching and you find one article that really answer your question, that it suggested earlier epidural made no differences, blah, 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 blah. So the answer is there, okay? So do annual general health checkup reduce illness and mortality? Same thing you do. So you do the database search and find the review article which related to your question, okay? This is much more reliable data, isn't it? Okay, so what is systematic review? You can relate with that situation just now. So it is an evidence of a clearly formulated question that use systematic and explicit method to identify, select, and critically appraise relevant primary research and to extract, analyze, and summarize data from the studies that are included in the review. So systematic SLR more focuses on specific question. When you have question, you have to find your evidence, and then you have to read it, summarize it, and come up with your own review. Okay, that is how systematic review work. Okay, how are reviews related? So all reviews are literature. Basically, it is in a form of traditional or narrative literature. But when it comes to specific topic, it is called a systematic review because it has a specific criteria. It has its own question about it. Okay, and meta-analysis is actually part of this systematic review. It covers more strongly about the data or findings from the selected articles of chosen, the selected article, and how systematic review and narrative reviews are different from each other. So systematic, it is a more scientific approach to review article. It has its own criteria or own research question. It is comprehensive in terms of relevant article collected. It has explicit method for critical appraisal, and sometimes meta-analysis also involved as part of it. Okay, because to different field, different discipline have different types of findings, right? Some have more towards the statistical analysis, some more about discussion or commenting or suggestion. But I think for biology related, it is so meta-analysis needs to be combined with systematic review. And narrative review depends on author inclination, bias. So author will have their own point of view, their bias, whether they agree or disagree, whether they favor the negative to positive. It depends on the author's POV. Okay, and author gets to pick any criteria he wants. And database search, it is not it is not ditetapkan. So he can use any database that he wants. But for systematic reviews, we have tools that like Pico tools to exclude the article. When we selected like 100 article, we have to exclude 20, for example, which doesn't meet our criteria. So we use a database tool for that. But for narrative review, you can cite as many as you want. Even it doesn't meet your criteria, but you still want it to be in your reviews, you can. Okay, and method not usually specified, and vote count, or it is in a narrative summary, and it cannot be replicate review. Okay, you have to know the key elements of systematic review. The first one, formulate the question, and then plan the review. And then a comprehensive search by using database tools, and you need to have your unbiased selection or abstraction process. Number 5, you need to do your critical appraisal of data or finding, and you need to synthesize or extract the data, and you may include your meta-analysis in that as well. And number 7, interpretation of result and generation of your review. So systematic reviews are very structured, and it reflects its name, right? The systematic. It is very systematic. Okay, what is the advantage of systematic review, SLR? It reduces bias because you already pick your own question and you have your own criteria. Replicability means that the review can be used by others to be discussed further, to replicate your data, to fabricate your data. But for narrative review, because you're focusing on one topic and you already explain in detail about that topic, usually doesn't include the findings or statistical analysis, so it cannot be replicated by other study or other author. And it resolves controversy between conflicting studies. It identifies gaps in current research, and it provides reliable basis for decision making. Okay, as I said, systematic literature review is very systematic, and the result is very reliable, and it can be used as a source for decision making in decision making process. Okay, another activity. Consider this intervention. So the first one, intervention to promote smoke alarm ownership. So before you start your literature review construction or structuring, so you came up with your own question, right? So this one example, so intervention to promote smoke alarm ownership and function, school-based driver education for the prevention of traffic crashes, and helmets for preventing head and facial injury in bicyclists. So these three topics to be discussed. And do you think the result identified in systematic literature review will be good, promising, or absent, or potentially harmful? So you do literature review, literature search, and you find that helmets really reduce the bicycle-related head and facial injury, right? This is just an example. I couldn't put any citation or referencing, but from the systematic reviews, I want to show that it answers actually your question. And also the result from the SLR provide no evidence that drive education reduce road crash, because the question came up like school bus driver education for the prevention of traffic crashes, but they found no evidence, as well as no evidence for intervention for promote smoke alarm, because the area-wide traffic are very calming in the town and city, so there is no need for smoke alarm intervention. Okay, that one is just an overview, just a very brief activity to do with you, so that you have understanding of what I'm talking about, okay, on how to generate the question, on how to relate or generate the question when you're writing the literature review. Now I want to address the importance of the literature review in answering all the, especially in our field, all the medical or health related question, for example. Okay, there are questions that your examiners ask that your literature review can help you answer. So for example, what research question are you asking and why? Has anything similar been done in this area before? What is already known or understood about this topic? Or how might your project challenge existing belief or add to this understanding? Okay, this is some kind of question you can consider. Whether your SLR can answer this question or not. Okay, how to get started? How to get started? How to start doing SLR? So you need to ask your self this question. What is the specific topic you want to study? The problem, research question. Okay, what types of literature review organization you want to conduct it in a form of chronological, thematic, or you want to do it in a form of what is another one? Can you guys remember?
Method.
Method, yes, method. And am I looking at issues or theory, methodology, policy, quantitative research or qualitative research? If you want to work on quantitative research, of course, your literature review article based on the quantitative research, right? Okay. What is the scope of your SLR? What type of publication are you referring to? Journal, books, primary, secondary? Okay. The assignment that I assigned to you, you have your scope is within only primary literature, right? If you look at the description, okay? And what time period am I interested in? What geographical area? What social setting? What material am I going to use? So you need to consider this kind of question. Otherwise, just open your laptop, open your online database and start searching without knowing what you should really do, right? Because I understand that I've been there and done that, okay? And sources for systematic review, as I said, you can identify your primary sources if you want, or you can use secondary sources or any relevant search terms on online databases to identify your sources. So we are going to learn about the Boolean searching. When you do database search, I believe you already know about database searching, right? If you want to study about the cancer biology, about what? OPG, RUNC-L, and TRAIL gene in type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular disease. So you can search OPG and RUNC-L and TRAIL and diabetes type 2 and cardiovascular. So you search, so you start searching, and based on your search terms, you can identify which article that related to your key terms just now. I believe you already learned about that, right? And you can exclude NNN or you want to exclude some criteria or type 1 diabetes because you doesn't want related to any type 1 diabetes. So you can do a search terms like that. Okay, if you doesn't understand about that, I will introduce it, I think, writing SLR part 1. I also will include how to do search terms on online database, okay? Use resources that are not in the library or online sources, or not scientific, but which is related to your study. You can use a web source, blog, but make sure it is reliable data, reliable information. And remember, there is no target for the number of references you included, but you need to show the marker you have covered the literature that is relevant to your project. I think for the assignment, I do not have maximum target for reference, but for that in order to construct SLR for for a researcher, for a lecturer like me, I need to have like more than 100 reference. Maybe for your project, more than 20 maybe is enough, but I think it's depend on your writing, your scope, your topic, right? If it is very new novel things, and you have to know how to do a reference, because not so many reference when you do like a very unique things, right? So you need to discuss with your supervisor. Okay, how to find a relevant literature. So my tips is always check references of references. Once you find an article, go to the reference and see what is the reference that they referred to. So it can be a good idea to check through their different sources, right? Okay. Their reference could be your reference too. Okay. Enhanced searching of in journal will reveal ideas about focus, research question, gaps, method, technique, study design, or interpretation that had not occurred to you. And I really encourage if you can use a software package for referencing and citation, for example, EndNotes, Mendeley, or SciWheel to collect and store details of the article. And there you can also read the abstract. You know, before you really go through everything, better you read the abstract first, right? Or just, you know, to know whether that research is reliable to you or not, as I already mentioned about 4 reading strategy last week, right? Okay, excuse me. Sorry, there's some interruption. Okay, Okay, that is a software package, and I believe most of you already, you know to how to operate and handle the reference and citation software package. You can find it free online. I think SciWheel is free, EndNote is under license, and Mendeley you can get free trial maybe. So you should check. Okay, so most important question, where to start? You already know when to start because you can start as soon as possible, but where to start? So when you start doing literature searching, so you don't need to read everything. You don't need to read every text. You don't need to read every word because you can't. You can't. Especially the topic of your chosen is not really your interest because you're undergraduate student. I understand you don't really have your research interest like me. I'm researcher. I already have my research interest, and certain area I might have some limitation and not expert about it. So when I read a paper about that field or discipline, I hardly understand about that. Okay, but I need that reference to be included in my review, for example. So I need to have my 4 reading strategy to be practiced on that, okay? In order for me to understand. Okay, so this is, I list down how do I start a literature review? How can you start a literature review strategy? So the first one, you need to explore, select, and focus on a topic. So usually look at the recommendation for further research at the back. I mean, after the conclusion, usually they put recommendation for further research in the conclusion or research area. That could be your question because no one has studied before. They didn't study before. That's why they suggesting it, right? So that could be one important point. Okay, you can generate your question from that. Okay, and generally for systematic review, the last one I said, determine the pre-established criteria. So you need to generate your own criteria, which one you want to include, which one you want to exclude. Okay, but from the recommendation of further research, you can generate your question from that. Okay, because they are suggesting something they are not done before, something new. So it could be your research question or objective. Okay. Second one, gather relevant documents and information. So you need to identify sources of information for your topic, like I said just now, and you can do you know are you familiar with terms like pearl mining or growing citation analysis, like the Boolean search I mentioned to you just now? And using different terms, you can actually find a good article that you can select which is related to your topic. The article which is very good, very interesting when you know how to do the pearl mining or citation analysis or reference searching. But this one I will not teach you further because it is more advanced technique, but I will explain about it briefly. maybe next week when we do our literature search method, okay? And you can do your backward searching and forward searching to explore the references. Maybe you can have to Google it about the backward searching and forward searching, but because this one for, I prepare it for advanced systematic literature review, but as for you, online database searching is already enough at your level, okay? Okay, and then you need to organize document and information. So as I said, it is better to use a software package. So it is much more easier. You can cite and write. So you can how to say, you can add a plug-in like for EndNote in your Word. So when you want to cite, you just click the EndNote and it will cite during your writing. I think you already know about that, right? And then qualitative analysis software if you are study about the qualitative if you study about the qualitative methodology. Okay, and I want to suggest you to prepare. In order to organize documentation, I always do it in form of literature review metrics. What is literature review metrics? Is generating a table, different criteria that you want to assess for your selected article or journal. For example, here the reference, the theory and concept of that article, and the research question from this article, what is the methodology used, and analysis, conclusion or implication for future research. From here, as I said, you can generate your question from here and also implication for practice. So you can generate literature review metric like this based on the topic that you select. And I believe some of you already know how to prepare like this kind of metric, because I know some of you put like this kind of metrics in your DRP proposal. Then it is fine. It's totally fine. Okay. Okay, number 4, summarize, compare, and critically appraise relevant literature. So you already learned about the critical appraisal last week. So when you already understand about the article, analyze the data, and then you need to critically appraise the relevant literature, and then jot down in a piece of paper or in your words, so that you are able to synthesis and overview the literature in a form of organization, themes, chronologically, or methodology. I missed that one here. So it depends on how you want to organize it. Okay. And from your writing, especially for literature, I already know what kind of organization that you want to discuss, and to differentiate between these, it's very good, right? I mean, in your literature writing, and you already stated that this chronological review is blah 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 blah. Okay, or this literature review focus on the topic of, and I already know that you're focusing on team organization. Okay, when you're talking about timeline, it is chronologically. When you're talking about the study design, qualitative or quantitative, or any other study design, I already know that you do it in a methodological organization. Okay, and here some of you asked, someone asked earlier about how to relate one article to another article. So it is important to know how to making links between article. Okay, for example, if the author have the point of view with agreement with the topic A, for example. So you can making links like similarity, author B points to blah blah blah. Likewise, author C makes the case that blah blah blah. Author D also makes this point. Again, it is possible to see how the author E agrees. Sorry, this is agrees with the author D. So if you're able to do paraphrasing of some related article like this, and which is very good. So this is what I mean about making link between difference of selected articles. Same like when comes with disagreement, you do the same, but it is important how to link this one with this one, and this one with this one, this one with this one, because I want to know, because in literature review, we want to know the relation why you select those article. Okay, you don't select the article by accident, right? There must be some reason, purpose. So it is basically because of this. And we usually do not put agreement and one disagreement below. So it'll become some bias or conflict of interest there because you're focusing on your agreement with that point A, right? So when you agree with something, make sure you discuss related article which agree with that topic, for example. Okay, this is important to tell you the common errors in systematic literature review. So usually the first one, hurrying through review to get started could mean that you will miss something that will improve your research. Like when you do not have a reading strategy, when you just read through everything, you might miss something. Okay, let's say you pick an article published in Nature, the most cited, the most popular, the most quality journal is the Nature. So you already picked an article for Nature, but you cannot find something interesting from that. It's impossible for me because you already pick an article from a very good journal. So, and it is a peer-reviewed journal. So if you have, so if you practice for reading strategy, you might find something interesting from that. Okay. It is important to check a quartile, journal quartile, article quartile, so that you can pick a very good journal, because a very good journal contains very interesting findings in that. Okay, so that's why it is published in that journal. Okay, and then relying too heavily upon secondary sources. Okay, when you do review articles, it is important to refer to the primary sources, the original research article, clinical trial, because the findings in there are very reliable as compared to the secondary sources. Okay, and number 3, concentrating on findings rather than method. Okay, some researcher author are eager or much interested to see what are the findings, but they are overlooked at the method that they use, because you need to have a good method to generate a good data, right? To me, most importantly, you look at the method first, and then if you find that a method is very interesting, and go to the result. Okay, and some researchers, you have to know that not all published articles are very good. Some are just crap. Okay, you need to look in detail what are the method, the study design that they use to generate that data. Okay. Overlooking sources other than academic journals, focusing more on online sources, more on not non-scientific literature. Okay, that's not good. Number 5, searching too broad or too narrow of a topic. Not good also. And 6, inaccuracy in compiling of bibliographic information. Okay, this one about the citation. So sometimes you as an author might confuse how to do citation or bibliography. You are referring to the paper A, article A, but your bibliography are referring to other article, which is not accurate. Okay. Number 7, hand searching of journal will reveal idea about focus. I think number 7 is just not related. I think I just my mistake to put the number 7. It is not to be here number 7. It's actually somewhere else, but just forgot the number 7. Okay. Okay. So when you start writing, so you have to know when to stop, because some people, when it's difficult at the beginning, right? When they have the momentum, they start writing, they don't know where to stop, when to stop and where to stop. So you need to consider those following. Search were done using standard information sources for your subject. So you already follow all the structured, you formulate the question, you do literature search, you do critical appraisal, and you already follow that, then that's enough. Okay. Consider the amount of time spent and strategy used in your searches. Let's say you've given how many weeks? Like 14 weeks for your DRP, right? For your literature review, at least you want to spend like 10 weeks is more than enough. And if you want to structure an actual systematic literature review, you already spent about 4 years, and I think it's already, you just stop. Okay, 4 years already long. Okay, consider the amount of time spent. Okay, and it is not logic you already spent like 1 week and you already came up with this is a very good literature review. No. Okay, that is very too short. And you have to consider the amount and quality of article or evidence. Let's say you already search or reviewing 20 articles for your assignments, for example. That's already enough. And you don't have to go like 200 references. That's ridiculous, right? And repetition of result with various searches, then you have to do some exclusion there. Because if you keep repeating doing the same thing, and then I don't know when you can stop writing, because there are more thousands of reference out there, right? And we do not know whether the results are duplicate or replicate, right? If you find some repetition, you just exclude it. Being able to identify seminal work and authorities on the topic, and also feedback to your search from advisor, colleagues. Okay, when your colleagues already stop writing, then you should stop, because next week is already the deadline, for example. Okay. Okay, the last one, I think this is the last slide. So you need to know that a good systematic literature review is focused to the topic of selected topic of your selection, and you should only present ideas and only report on studies that are closely related to topic. When you focus on the cancer biology, specifically for a cervical cancer, so you focus on that cervical cancer. You do not have to, you know, exaggerate it, related it much to other types of other type of cancer, for example. Concise. The idea should be presented economically. Don't take any more space than you need to present your ideas, correct? And logic. The flow within and among paragraphs should be smooth, logical progression from one idea to the next. Okay, there's always some links between one idea or one paragraph to another paragraph. There is a flow, you know. When you read a story, you want to see a plot, right? How it flows smoothly. Develop. Don't list the story half told. When you explain about point A, and then it's just hanging without any supporting data or supporting reference to that, so it is not fully told, right? So it has to be integrative. So your literature should stress how the idea in the studies are related. Focus on the big picture, what commonality do all the studies share. So you have to find the links to relate with each other. Okay, whether they agree with one point or disagree with one point. Okay. And it has to be current. So your review should focus on work being done on the cutting edge of your topic. Let's say you are working on the COVID-19. So it is not logic you find a reference in 1979 for COVID-19, right? Maybe you want to relate with when the virus is identified, but I don't think it's necessary. If you want to talk about the virus, just talk about the SARS-CoV-2 virus, which discovered 2019, something like that. Okay, so this is going to be my last my last slide for today.